still being counted, and we're waiting on another batch of results at 4 o'clock this afternoon. In the meantime, I want to touch base with the head of our state's election system, Secretary of State Kim Wyman, joining us live. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Now, Secretary, congratulations to you. We know you have accepted a position with the Biden administration. We'll talk with you about that at a later date. Today, we're talking about the election. So how are you feeling about it this morning?
Oh, well, last night went really smoothly in terms of getting results up and statewide giving voters information. I anticipate we'll see a large number of ballots come in today that counties will process. And I think by the time we certify this election, we'll be about 35% of the turnout.
And as it stands right now, we're looking at 22.36 some odd statewide turnout. So there are a lot of ballots still to count. How much are you thinking that number is going to change? You're thinking, probably 8% more still to be counted?
Absolutely. Typically we see about half the ballots come in by Friday before election week. And on Friday, we were at about 17% statewide. So it varies county to county, and King County certainly had some parts of it, like Seattle, that had higher turnout than the overall average. So I think Seattle was at 27% last night. So I'm pretty confident we'll be close to 35% by the time we certify.
And so in some of those districts where you do see higher turnout, what do you attribute that to?
It's absolutely a hot race. Mayor and city attorney and some council positions in Seattle really put the focus on those races for voters. I think there was a lot of money spent on those campaigns, so they were getting a lot of information in their homes and on the radio, on television. So I think that it's top of mind, and I think that Seattle has a lot at stake, and people were interested. So I think the get out the vote efforts were pretty good.
So overall, are you pleased with the turnout, considering this was kind of an off-year election?
Oh, as an election official, you always want closer to 100% turnout. But unfortunately, it's pretty typical in a post-presidential year. For whatever reason, voters are fatigued or something coming off of that presidential election, and they just don't engage. And it's ironic because the people that were elected last night or going to be elected from last night's election are really the people that affect your daily life. And most voters choose not to participate.
And speaking of that presidential election, we heard a lot of calls of voter fraud. Did you get a lot of concerns from your office about fraud this election cycle? It's kind of a carryover from 2020. We have certainly a part of the electorate that is convinced that there was vote rigging of some sort of fraud, and it's in our local elections here in the state. And we've had a lot of people do a lot of deep dives and make assessments of data, and I've yet to have anyone actually give me something actionable that would be something we could prosecute for fraud. I've directed many people to give the information they have about fraud to the FBI, and so far nothing's happened, but we're still trying to build the confidence in those voters. Yeah, so Secretary Wyman, we just saw the Democratic candidate for Virginia governor, Glenn Youngkin, the Republican winner in that race, someone who has pushed forth the election fraud narrative, along with other GOP candidates across the country who are doing pretty well today. And you've battled that narrative yourself over the past couple of elections. So what is your take on that?
Well, I think that the thing that is most healthy for democracy is transparency. And having 30 years of doing this work as an election administrator, it's fun to actually bring those people into the deep dive of how we do elections. And let's talk about the security measures and really address head on their concerns. And that's what I'm going to continue to try to do, is get people to go to their local election office, go and see how we build in the safeguards. How do they protect your vote at the polls and in an absentee environment or a vote by mail environment? And I think the more we can get people to do that, the more they're going to see that these are indeed fair elections. But it's going to take time.
And speaking of voting by mail, we have done that successfully in our state for a decade now. Do you see more states going that route?
I think over the next 10 years, you will see a shift at least to higher absentee ballot elections. But, I'm sure that last night's results are not lost on a lot of politicos, especially Republicans, where you look at New Jersey, you look at Virginia, where you have states that had higher absentee votes or even vote by mail last year, and you had an outcome that favored Democrats. And now last night, you had an outcome that favored Republicans, and it was more a polling place environment. I think the simple analysis for them is going to be it's got to be polling places to win. I think it's a deeper dive than that. I think it's a low turnout election and you have a different demographic voting, but they'll analyze that and change their strategies.
Washington Secretary of State Kim Wyman, a pleasure to have you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, 8:45.